Okay, in this video we're gonna start actually making the enemy missiles spawn. The goal is to make them spawn randomly from the top. We won't bother with actually doing any kind of targeting or anything yet in this video. We just want them spawning from the top in a random position. So let's go back to Unity. And first thing we're going to want to do here is make an enemy missile prefab. So I'm just going to use this guy. We'll scale him down to half like the player missile. Call him enemy missile. And let's drag that into our prefabs. We don't need that in scene anymore. And we're going to make an empty enemy missile spawner object. And make a script of the same name. Okay, so let's open this guy up. And first thing I'm going to do is just make a serialized field for a game object. This will be the prefab. So we'll call this enemy, you know what, just missile prefab. Since it's in the enemy script, we already know. Okay, I'm just going to add that in right now so we don't forget it. Okay, and what I'm going to do is just make two float variables. These are going to store the minimum and the maximum x value of the screen. So we'll do min x and max x. Okay, and we'll get a random value between those. Just thinking best way we can do this. You know what? We will do, okay, so min x is going to equal, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use the main camera and we'll do viewport to world point. So what this will basically do is I'm going to get the top left corner of the viewport, so it won't matter what resolution or aspect ratio or anything the screen's on. It'll get the top left point and convert it to a world point in the game. And that's going to be our minimum x, and then we're going to do the same with the top right corner for the maximum. And then we'll spawn the missile anywhere between those 2 points at a certain y value, basically somewhere just at the top of the screen, I think. Maybe a little off the screen so it doesn't look like it pops in, but we'll do that. Okay, so we just need a vector 3, so we'll do a new vector 3. And the way this works is use a vector 3, I guess technically a vector 2 for it. It doesn't really do much with the Z, but it goes from 0 to 1. So 0, 0 is the bottom left corner of the screen, and 1, 0 would be the top left corner, or sorry, 1, 1, 0 would be the bottom right corner because it's 1 on the X, which would be fully to the right, and then 1 on the Y is fully to the top, which would be the top of the screen. So it's kind of like a percentage. 1's 100%, 0's 0%. So first one we want is top left. So that's going to be 0, 1, and then 0 for the Z. And that should work. And we'll just copy that and do max x. And we'll do 1, 1, which will be the top. So that gives us our 2 points there. And you know what, before we do any of the random, let's test this out. We're going to spawn test one at both points. So we'll do missile prefab. Oh, you know what, sorry, that's not going to work. Let's do it. Let's do this as a vector 3. And I'm just thinking what we can name. You know what, we'll just leave them named like that for now. We can change the name later. So min x, and we won't worry about rotation. And then we'll do the same at the max x. So the wording of the variables might be kind of confusing right now. We'll change that in a minute. We're just going to test to make sure it works first. which it appears that it did not. Oh, you know what? It might have, and we just might not see them. Okay, so it did work actually, and those are our points. And you know what? That'll probably actually work fine because they were off the screen. They're just far enough out, but if not, we can add a little padding so they spawn just outside of it. But that is kind of doing what we want. Yeah, just thinking how we can word these better, since that's not minimum and maximum x. That's the actual vectors, so that's covering everything. You know what, we'll leave it for right now. Okay, so we don't need these. You know, we are going to make this a bit less confusing. Okay, so they're going to be called that, and here we're just going to get the x value. I think I've never actually tried it like this, so you know what, just kind of experimenting while we go. Let's see if this works. I think we can just get the x value like that. Yeah, -9, +9. So that's what it's outputting for those. And if we look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so that actually works. So you know what, we can just do it that way. And yeah, just that these videos aren't really planned ahead for the most part. So there might be kind of some experimenting in here. I just want to kind of document the whole thing. And yeah, some of them might be longer. Some of them might be shorter, but this should work good, I think. So you know what? We will delete that. Okay, so now we got a minimum and a maximum x for the screen. So what we will do is this is going to run every time a missile launches. So you know what? We will just do instantiate missile prefab, and then yeah, before we do it that way, we'll do private, whoops. Oh, I guess we don't even need to. Yeah, we'll just do float, and we'll do random x. This will equal random.range, whoops, just range. And when we do it with floats, it's inclusive, so whatever numbers we put in here will actually be included in the number that can be picked. If you use integers, it's not. So if you use like 0 to 2 for integers, it'll only make it random between 0 and 1. But with a float, if we do 0 and 1f for the maximum range, it'll actually pick 0 and 1 as the number. So all we should need to do here is pick min x, max x, and that should get us random. And then we'll get rid of this too. For our y, I'm just going to do float. We'll do y value equals I'm just going to copy this method here. Dot y, and that should get us the top of the screen. So since the 1 here is 100% on the y, whatever this returns is going to be the top of the screen. So we'll try it like this, and if needed we can add just a very small amount to it, like maybe 0.5 or something, just to make it a bit higher off the screen, just in case we see it actually pop in partway on the screen when it spawns. So let's instantiate one. We will make a missile prefab. For the position, we're going to use a new vector 3. For the x, it's going to be random x. Y is going to be y value. And z, We'll usually just use the camera depth, but I think 0 should work fine. We'll block that. Don't need to worry about rotation yet. And let's see if this works. Okay, so yeah, we will have to add a little bit of padding to it just so it's off screen. But if we try this, it should be different every time. It's different, but it's not moving too far. Oh, might be fine. Okay, yeah, should be good by the looks of it. Just want to try a few more, just see what kind of variation we get here. We may have to add some percentages or something just to kind of try to eliminate this later, where a lot of the time truly random doesn't feel random to the player. So like, you know, it might spawn in the same area a few times, and to the player that doesn't seem random even though it is. If that becomes the case, we can play around with that later. That's not a big deal. So this seems like it should be working for now. Let's add, you know, we'll just do we'll serialize this so we can play with it. We'll do float, we'll do Y padding, and we'll just do 0.5 for now. So we'll do Y value plus Y padding. Okay, and if we do it now, we'll make sure it's not on maximize. We spawn it now it should be just outside the camera range. So yeah, now you won't see it spawn, so it comes in the screen fully. Okay, so we'll leave that as this video. In the next one, I think what we'll do is we'll start working on our house, which will be the city prefabs. And then once we have that, we can start using the missiles to actually start targeting things on the ground level. Yeah, that should be good for this.